I mean, where do I begin? Like, I don't even know what to do. Why do I need to tell you guys what happened in the race? I don't need to. You guys could go watch the race yourself. I mean, if you weren't watching, and then you really should be, because that was just, if you wanted fresh and new and exciting and entertaining, that was it. But anyways, we will quote-unquote review the race. These aren't even really reviews. We just talk about it, you know, have fun with it. I mean, when was the last time you've seen, like, 10 drivers overdrive a corner and just go straight into the wall? Oh my god, the leader of the race just overdrove the corner and drove straight into a wall. Do you know how many jokes can be made out of that? That he just drove straight into a wall? Charlotte Roval. This was so entertaining. If you didn't watch the race, wait. There should be a race replay sometime tomorrow. But there's also, I think the race will be uploaded on YouTube like a week later. So if you want to actually watch the race, then watch it. I highly recommend you do, because this race had everything. This race, well, before Ricky Stenhouse did what he did, and we'll get to that. Before that happened, this race was, it was like a racer's dream. The hardcore racing fans out there that really enjoy just the purity of racing, we had that at the Roval. And the biggest factor of that was a few things. One, the layout, the interior layout of the Roval. After turn 1 all the way to the backstretch chicane, before you get to that chicane, that part of the track is fantastic because all of the corners are pretty much off-camber corners. You're always sliding a little bit. You're always fighting for grip. It was magnificent. It was beautifully designed there. The chicane bothered me a little bit and bothered me a lot throughout the last few months, especially with the wall. But then that wall was moved back due to Bubba Wallace and Eric Jones hitting the wall very hard. Tire barriers, if you want to be exactly correct, but whatever. So when that was moved back, the danger of that chicane kind of fell back a little bit. You can kind of push a little bit harder, and you kind of knew your limits. And even though that chicane would funnel everyone out single file, if you were able to be disciplined enough to back up the entrance to the chicane and get on the throttle in the middle, you could really gain some speed and set up a move for the final little right-left-hander right before the start-finish line. Funny story, I was actually, when the race just started, I was telling my roommate, I think the race is going to end with the leader getting dumped in the final 2 corners, and man, I look so white in this video. I hate this camera. I really need to upgrade. So the course design was great once they fixed that backstretch chicane. So when we get to the actual race itself, the strategy was way more than I thought it would be. Credit to NASCAR for setting the stages and the race length into a really nice position around 109 laps, 110 laps, to where the guys could go 35 to 37 laps on fuel. And the way this played out throughout the entire race was magnificent. So much strategy involved. The first 5 cars in the field, or first 10 cars in the field that qualified up front and were able to run up there for their great track position, they had one strategy. People in the middle of the pack had another strategy, and then people who decided to pit during the caution that happened in stage 1 have another strategy, and everything, once that happens at that point, and this is why I think modern day NASCAR fans, a little bit of the younger ones, they're not a lot out there, but the young NASCAR fans really do enjoy road course racing. It's because the entire race matters. The second you do that first pit stop sets you in motion for what you do on the second stop, the third stop, or whatever you have to do, because the race is run backwards. If you pit with 100 laps to go, that pit stop really matters at the end of the race, because it'll put you in positions. And with the stage racing happening where these guys had to get points, a lot of guys did not do the strategy that is normal at Sonoma and Watkins Glen, which is pit with 3 laps to go. That way you could just avoid the caution, having to come down pit road and gain track position. But because everyone was trying to get stage points, credit to stage racing here, everyone had to stay on the track and then go to the back, like Jimmy Johnson, Kurt Busch, Chase Elliott, and Kyle Larson, who was leading the race in stage 1, stayed out at the end of stage 1. So all this different strategy that came in to place set everyone into motion for different things. And I don't know what I'm doing with my hands this entire video, but basically this was the best part of the race, was the strategy. But man, I cannot emphasize how amazing the strategy was. So like I said, in the front you had Kyle Larson, you had Kurt Busch, you had Chase Elliott as they're up there as well. Jimmy Johnson was running well. Alex Bowman was running well. And all these guys have certain strategies. Those cars were the cars that were on that one strategy, except when stage 1 ended, when Kyle Larson won the stage. When that happened, Kyle Larson stays out, and other guys, most of the other guys up with him, decide to come down pit road. And this completely messes everything up, because then you have guys, when the caution came out in the middle of stage 1, you had those guys went down pit road. Then you have the guys that did the normal strategy of pitting with 3 laps to go in the stage. Those guys went down pit road, stayed out. So now you have guys like Kurt Busch, Jimmy Johnson, Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman, all these fast guys in the back of the pack. We're talking 23rd. And then they have to make their way back up towards the front. This forces the passing, because you have much faster cars in the back of the pack. It's basically an inverted field without actually inverting the field. It's incredible. So when all this is happening, you're getting some fantastic racing, and the passing zones. This is something I really want to talk about, the passing zones. A lot of people were scared that there wasn't going to be any passing, including myself. I thought the chicane was going to spread everyone out. But when that wall was moved and people felt a lot more comfortable in that chicane, they got the hang of it. It didn't funnel everyone. It made everyone single file, but it didn't get them separated, because you could get a run through there. And the rest of the track, especially I think coming out of the left to right hander on the start finish line, the last 2 turns, when you head into turn 1, that is a passing zone as well. You saw Jimmy Johnson, Chase Elliott, Larson, all these guys really focus on that entrance into the first right-hander to get a run off the left-hander, go into the start finish line. That way they can make the pass into turn 1. So that was a passing zone. There was also passing zones, I think, in turn 3, coming off that little sweeping left-hander after turn 1. That was a passing zone. I think turn 6 as well was a passing zone. It was the really long sweeping right-hander, the first one before the second right-hander that goes then downhill into, the oval basically. That was a passing zone. And you could basically make anything a passing zone if you were disciplined, back up your corner, and actually, get the run. And of course, if aerodynamics are not a huge part, which they aren't when you're only going like 60 miles per hour, and you get this, it is absolutely beautiful. So in stage 2, and this is why I'm not really talking about like the stages that much, is because there's too much strategy for me to even explain what everyone is on. It's very, very confusing. If you watch the race, even you were very probably incredibly confused on when people could pit, and you were basically trying to like, wait, okay, if I have to run 110 laps, like Kyle Larson was thinking to himself, well, let's not pit here, or his crew chief was thinking it, let's not pit here, let's pit around 40 laps into the race, and then not pit at the end of stage 2, and then get the lead back, and then pit and try. It was insane. So that's why I'm not talking about the stages too much. So let's talk about some of the playoff drivers that had a few incidents. So Eric Almirola was the first one, really. He had an incident involving William Byron, who already had a flat right front tire, and Almirola couldn't go anywhere, so he slams the wall. Now, the car didn't look too damaged at this point, so he was all right. Martin Truex Jr. and Brad Keselowski. Truex gets, taken out pretty much by Brad Keselowski overdriving the corner, but these two are locked in, and they're just trying to, set themselves up. These two were not up towards the front, really, in the beginning part of the race, because, again, it's strategy. Most of the drivers, like Larson, Jimmy Johnson, Elliott, they're going for stage points. They're running up front most of the time. Kyle Busch, Harvick, Truex, and these guys, Brad Keselowski, they're running a different kind of strategy, especially because Keselowski had to start at the back. So they're running a strategy that tries to get them up towards the front at the end of stage 2. So when stage 2 comes around, Ryan Blaney, who pitted at lap 14 on stage 1, ends up winning stage 2, because again, he didn't have to pit at the end of that stage. He was able to get around Kyle Larson when Larson had pitted at lap 40. Jimmy Johnson, who did pit at the end of stage 1, gets all the way back up to second place. So he gets a lot of those bonus points that are very, very important for the end of the race. Stage 3 comes along, and mostly for stage 3, everyone running up towards the front pitted, and then some guys who were on different strategies stayed back out. So Larson stays out, he gets back up towards the front. Keselowski stays out, he gets up towards the front. It's mayhem. So then a few incidents happen here, and one of them, especially with the playoff driver, is Austin Dillon. He gets a flat right front tire, slams the wall, and his race is done, which means he's out of the playoffs. This is a big deal for guys like Jimmy, for Ryan Blaney, for Alex Bowman, for Clint Boyer, because these guys have one less driver to worry about. Austin Dillon was in that battle, hits the wall, he's out. Eric Jones and Denny Hamlin are basically already out of the battle because they have to win the race, and they don't look like they have the speed to win the race. So it really is, there's one spot that's going to get eliminated, and there's like 5 guys trying to get in, so 5 guys for 4 spots, and that was really the tone of the race into the third stage. A few more cautions come out for some really weird advertisement placements. I mean, Chris Buescher had like an advertisement on the back of him. There's a Bojangles car in front, on another one. It was very weird. If you watch the race, you know what I mean. But there's a few more cautions, and then lap 70 comes around. There's a caution here, and lap 70 is a big deal because this is when everyone mostly decides to pit. And you can't make it on fuel, well, you don't think you can, from lap 70 to lap 109. People think they're probably 2 to 3 or 4 laps short. Everyone was ranging mostly from 2 to 4 laps short. So when the race restarts, you have guys like Jimmy, like Chase Elliott, Truex, Kyle Busch, who are running 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th in that area. They're just backing off. They're like 8 and 10 seconds behind the leaders. The 2 leaders are Brad Keselowski and Kyle Larson. And they were kind of digging themselves into a hole here because they were running really hard. Keselowski pitted lap 66, so there's no way Keselowski can make it. Larson pits lap 70, but he's running pretty hard. So these two, at one point, they had like a 25-second gap on a 5th place because those guys, Jimmy, Truex, Kyle, Harvick, Elliott, they're all just saving fuel. You know, they're all just trying to make it to the end because most of those guys are just hoping that, and they would have been right, that Larson and Keselowski would run out of fuel. So the final stage goes mostly green, and then Ricky Stenhouse does what Ricky Stenhouse does, and I was highly upset because this race was going to be a beautiful fuel mileage race, and Ricky Stenhouse he spins out. And like, I'm nothing against Ricky Stenhouse, great guy, good race car driver, I was very upset because that was going to be an amazing fuel mileage finish. I mean, an amazing fuel mileage finish, seeing who can make it on fuel. I don't think many could, so that would have been nuts for playoff implications, because then there were also guys like who were playing it safe. So Alex Bowman, Ryan Blaney, and Clint Boyer, who are all battling right on that spot, separating 4 points. They're doing a chess match. They're pitting with 20 to go, and they're running back in 25th, just racing each other. They don't even care about anyone else. They're just racing each other because, again, 5 guys, 4 spots. So only 1 guy gets eliminated. So when Alex Bowman pits with 20 to go, Clint Boyer and Ryan Blaney are like, he's the guy that's trying to pass us, right? All right, we'll just pit. We'll just match him. Who cares? You know, as long as you just beat him straight up on track, you get through. So everything was shaping up beautifully. Caution comes out for Stenhouse, and we have to redo it. So mostly everyone stays out, so you know where everyone is, and then heading into turn 1 with like 6 laps to go, some of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life happens. Brad Keselowski, Larson, Paul Menard, a lot of guys, Kyle Busch, they all overdrove turn 1. And Keselowski especially goes straight into the wall, or the tire barrier if you want to be politically correct. This collects a few guys, playoff guys as well, and it's insane. I've never seen something like that. I've never seen that many drivers overdrive a corner. Never. In my entire life. That was hilarious. So that happens. Meantime, the whole field gets shuffled from that. Everyone who started on the outside lane, you've dropped a few spots. Whoever started on the inside lane gained a few spots. So red flag comes out. Kyle Larson has a lot of damage. Kyle Larson now, who's been leading pretty much all race, is in danger of missing the playoffs. He has massive damage, drops to 32nd place. He tries to get back out there, meet minimum speed. At this point, Eric Almirola, who has had multiple issues all race, he's running back in 25th, who pitted, but Eric Almirola can get up to into the playoffs if he just passes a few cars, because Larson now has issues. Alex Bowman is somewhere in the top 10. I mean, it is insane what was going on with points implications. So, like I said, Larson's in the back. Eric Almirola is in 25th or something like that. He's trying to pass cars. This is all happening with 3 laps to go. Truex is in the lead. Jimmie Johnson is in second, and Jimmie Johnson is to the good by like 7 points. So Jimmy's good on the cutoff line by 7 points, running in second, trying to run down for the win. Eric Almirola is passing cars for 25th place and 21st place, and he's trying to get up to the front. Alex Bowman's passing cars within the top 10 to get himself some points. So at one point, they're all basically like within 2 points of each other. Ryan Blaney's in third. He's pretty good. Clint Boyer's trying to get around to be safe as well. And on the final lap, Eric Almirola makes a few passes to get him into the green. So Alex Bowman made a few passes, and then Eric Almirola makes a few passes. And on the white flag lap, the way it looked like was Eric Almirola was going to beat Larson, and Bowman was going to beat Almirola by 1 point, basically. Like 1 point for Bowman, and then 1 back, and then Almirola. And then Almirola and Larson were either tied, or Almirola had 1 more point, and Larson would be the guy missing out. Jimmie Johnson's in second, going for the win, and entering the last corner. The one thing he can't do is wreck, and that's what he does. He locks up, he wheel hops, wrecks, backs into Truex. Truex gets spun out, and then Ryan Blaney somehow wins the race in one of the funniest finishes you will ever see. Jimmy then, not knowing if he would get penalized for, basically overshooting the chicane, but he never gained an advantage, so I didn't know if he had to stop, but he had to stop at the start finish line right before it, then get back going, and he loses the 7 points he had, and he misses out on the playoffs. I don't have the standings in front of me at this moment because they're not officially on the NASCAR website, so I don't know exactly how many points Jimmie Johnson missed out. He either tied or he missed out by 1 point. One of those things. I think they were all tied. I think 14th, 15th, and 16th were, or no, not that. 11th, 12th, and 13th were all tied on points. Larson gets in. Almirola gets in. Bowman gets in, Boyer gets in, but Jimmie Johnson misses out, and he was in the best position on the final few laps. If all of that made any sense to you, congratulations, but you have to watch the race to get that. It was so much fun. Again, would I have wished for the fuel mileage race to happen? Yes, but we're not going to be spoiled here. That finish is one of the funniest finish. I don't know if it would be greatest. I mean, it was hilarious that Jimmy Johnson wheel hop, but I kind of expected it to happen. I knew if there were two guys that were gonna go for the win in that last corner, I knew whoever was in second place, because you don't know, you don't have experience before. This is the first time everyone's been on this track, so you've never been in a race winning situation heading into those final corners, and those two final corners set up insane finishes if you overdrive it. It's very similar to Montreal. It's very, very similar to Circuit de Gilles. I can't pronounce the Canadian the proper way. Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. It's very, very similar to that. You're just going a lot faster through there, but you get that little chicane at the end. You can overdrive it a little bit, and a lot of crazy stuff happens. So Ryan Blaney somehow wins the race. Jimmy Johnson gets eliminated, and again, the main guys around the cutoff line. Bowyer, Almirola, Larson, they make it. Jimmy Johnson misses. So does Austin Dillon, Eric Jones, and Denny Hamlin. Let's look at the finishing results. I mean, it was just... I don't even really want to go through it that much because everything's been set. All that matters, is who won the race and who got into the playoffs, so we know that. But here are the results. Blaney McMurray somehow gets in a second because the front two wrecked. Clint Bowyer in third, Alex Bowman fourth, Kurt Busch fifth, Chase Elliott sixth, Allmendinger, Jimmy Johnson, Kevin Harvick, and Logano. Ryan Newman in 11th, Denny Hamlin 12th, and then you can just see the rest of the field. Martin Truex Jr., who was leading coming in the last few laps, in 14th, and then everyone else here down at the bottom. Larson able to finish 25th and get that key pass. There was a very key pass for Larson on Jeffrey Earnhardt at the end of the race to get him in. There are multiple things that got Jimmy Johnson out of the race, but the two main things was him wrecking, him not being able to having a stop on the front stretch and then go, and then Larson getting around Jeffrey Earnhardt, who wrecked coming to the start-finish line, and then sat there for like 40 seconds. That was really weird to me. I don't know if he couldn't get refired, but Larson was coming around and just smacking the wall everywhere, trying to get to Jeffrey Earnhardt. His right front was dead, so he was just smacking the wall. He was just that's the best. If you guys ever played the video games, you wall ride. You just smack the wall and it gets you speed. So he's able to get around Jeffrey Earnhardt, get the point that gets him into the playoffs. If you could, that is so crazy. If you couldn't tell by the video, it was an insane race. The entire race was amazing. They need to do more of this. I wouldn't say like make mile and a halves in the road courses. I'd just say we need more road courses. This was a very unique road course that didn't give a lot of room to drivers, and maybe that worked because drivers had to be careful, and that was pretty cool. So credit to everyone at SMI, credit to Charlotte, credit to the fans for showing up, credit to everyone for doing a fantastic job with the Charlotte Roval. And I think this is what we're going to see in the future. I want to make a video sometime this week. I don't know if I have time to do it, but I want to make a video about what the schedule or what tracks should do, and maybe to help out before 2021, because I think many people know they don't like the mile and a halves, and it's not the mile and a half's fault. It's mainly the car, too much aerodynamics. So when you go to short tracks, when you go to road courses, the car is negated. It doesn't matter what car you use because the aerodynamics don't matter when you're going 60 miles per hour. So I think that's something we might see in the future. The race was fantastic. 9.5 out of 10. You want to give it a 10 out of 10, go ahead. I think it would have been a 10 out of 10 for me if Stenhouse didn't wreck and the people were running out of fuel and everything. That would have been nuts. That would have been great. That would have given me a 10 out of 10. But the chaos that happened at the end, entertaining, good race, and a good week overall for NASCAR, because also in the news, Hailie Deegan won her first race, and she's going to be a very, very popular figure to watch throughout the sport as she grows up. And this video must have been insane. I don't know what I've been saying the last 20 minutes, but if you guys liked it, make sure to like button. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. Comment down below what you thought of the race. And that was insane. You want to rewatch it probably? Go ahead and rewatch it, because there's not really a dull moment in that race. There's always something going on, especially when strategy means that much. There is always something going on, because from the first lap to the last lap, your pit strategy matters, and that's the beauty of road courses. That's why stage racing is pretty nice here. And at first I thought I wasn't happy with having a pit at 3 to go, but then when I rethink it, it involves so much strategy that I like it. I do like having to think like, okay, I can go for points, or I can set myself up for the finish of the race, and that's a new thing that a lot of crew chiefs have to think about, and that's pretty cool. So I'll see you guys later. Hope you have a great day. This video, unedited, is 24 minutes long. I'm really sorry, however long it is. It's too long, so I'll see you guys later. Peace out.